Hey everyone, this is John Trent with BountyIntoComics.com, and coming here today to bring you our weekly report. First off, we're going to talk about Shaun Gordon Murphy's new project. It has to do with Azrael. It's a lot of fun. Then we're going to talk about some Total War Rome 2 controversy. They're not doing really well with their customer service. Not looking good on their part. And then we're going to talk about the Joker movie that everyone is raving about. Joaquin Phoenix is looking the part, and people are loving it. There's a lot of hype, so we're going to talk about that and some theories that we have. And then finally, we're going to talk about Gen Con banning the quartering. So let's get started. We're going to talk about Shaun Gordon Murphy and his upcoming Batman project. This is a sequel to Batman the White Knight, so if you like that, you're going to want to follow this up. This one is called Batman Curse of the White Knight, and it will star none other than former Batman ally Azrael. And Murphy actually says that Azrael won't be a Batman ally. Instead, he's going to get recruited by the Joker to become an even greater threat than Murphy's Joker was in Batman White Knight. Murphy promises there's going to be quite a bit of, there's going to be at least one awesome car chase scene. In Batman White Knight, there was a bunch of them from the opening issue. There was an awesome chase scene where Batman goes after the Joker, and then there's the one where he's trying to get to the building to stop the Joker's plans. As far as like the differences between White Knight and Curse of the White Knight, this one will be a much more Batman-centric story. If you read White Knight, it was more of a Joker-centric story. Murphy promises this one will be more Batman-oriented. And he also notes that this one will have less politics than White Knight. If you read White Knight, there was a bunch of different issues that Murphy touched on. You had gentrification, you had crime. There was like a ton of different things involving Gotham City, but this one will have less of a political angle than what the original White Knight had. And there's definitely some awesome looking artwork he's shown us. You can see it here. But let's read a little bit of the official solicitation that DC sent us. The Joker recruits a savage partner. We know that we can assume that it's Azrael, given Murphy's artwork that he released, to help expose a shocking revelation about the Wayne family's legacy and run Gotham into the ground. As Batman rushes to protect the city and his loved ones from this corrupt conspiracy, the mystery of his ancestry unravels and deals a devastating blow to the Dark Knight. Exciting new villains and unexpected allies will clash across history in this unforgettable chapter of the White Knight saga, and the truth about the blood they shed will shake Gotham to its core. So let's unpack that a little bit. And one thing that really stands out to me is the clash across history. So it doesn't not only look like that Murphy will be kind of staying within the same timeline, but we'll also be looking back into the past. Maybe a look at Thomas Wayne, maybe even going even further to look at the Wayne's legacy. I don't know if you've played the Batman Telltale series. That's one of their key sticking points was Bruce Wayne's history, and they actually kind of link him to the Nazis, the Wayne family to the Nazis in that game. So there might be some inspiration from the Batman the Telltale series. So this isn't kind of unheard of territory. We've seen people examine the Wayne family before, but I'm actually really excited about this. I liked White Knight a lot, so Curse of the White Knight looks really good, and it's Azrael. Come on, how can you not like that? But let's move on to Total War Rome 2. So this is a developing story. Kind of all started back in March. Total War Rome 2 released a patch where generals could become females, and there were different percentages depending on the faction that you chose. Certain factions like the Romans and the Greeks had Creative Assembly said that has a 0% chance of getting generals. But it still rubbed some gamers the wrong way. They didn't like how the percentages were that didn't fit within the authenticity of the historic period that the game is set in. And they voiced their opinions on their message board. And what ended up happening is you had a community editor come in and basically pull a Battlefield 5. And she basically said, if you don't like the game, then don't buy it, and we don't want you to buy our game. That's kind of the gist of what she said. And obviously, the gamers did not take that well at all, and they decided to downvote the game on Steam profusely over the past couple days. And what ended up happening, though, is Creative Assembly really stepped in it. Total War like released a statement, and I mean it was fine. It was like explaining like what they were going to do and how they're going to stick to it. And they also like said that there's a mod where you can change the spawn rate of like female generals to where it's more historically accurate. But where Creative Assembly really stepped in it is they liked this tweet about their response about Total War's response to the gamers downvoting them or giving them bad reviews. And it says, "Kudos and thanks to Creative Assembly Games for the perfect response. Hope other studios learn that customer bigotry must not be served. Don't take Nazi money. If your biz model relies on it, change your biz." So Creative Assembly was endorsing this tweet where they're referring to their customers as Nazis. That's absolutely ridiculously terrible customer service, and it doesn't really work. We've seen this. There's multiple cases just in the past year alone where game developers and even film studios have kind of done this, and it just doesn't work. Like you can look at Battlefield 5, as I mentioned earlier. As soon as their chief creative officer decided to tell their players not to buy the game, a report came out saying that there was like really bad pre-order sales. That chief creative officer eventually left the company, and Battlefield 5 began backtracking and said that they would start actually listening to what their players' demands were for the game. It's unclear if they'll actually be able to deliver on that, given the short time frame the game is supposed to come out, I believe, within the next month or so. And then on the movie front, the biggest obvious example is Star Wars and Lucasfilm. You had multiple creators from Star Wars, from Rian Johnson, the director of The Last Jedi. You had Chuck Wendig, who writes a bunch of their comic books. And there were even J.J. Abrams, who's directing Episode 9. They went out of their way to like insult fans. Rian Johnson like called them man babies. Chuck Wendig was calling Star Wars fans white supremacists. What's really interesting is, echoing the Rian Johnson's man babies, Creative Assembly also liked this other tweet from George Osborne and Mark Brown that says, "Stand with Creative Games on this. Stand against gamer babies." And then Mark Brown, like, it's a quote tweet, so Mark Brown had said, "The gamer babies are at it again." So Creative Assembly was literally endorsing a tweet where they're referring to their customers as gamer babies. It just doesn't make any sense why you would have anyone that you're trying to sell your product to referring to them as gamer babies. It's just dumb. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the future releases that Creative Assembly's titles don't perform as well. I know I've already seen some people already have been like contacting Sega, and I wouldn't be surprised if people were contacting Games Workshop because Creative Assembly has a Warhammer license, and they make Warhammer Total War games. So that's what's happening with Total War Rome 2. Let's move on to Joaquin Phoenix and the Joker. All right, so this is some fun stuff here. So if you haven't seen Joaquin Phoenix and the Joker, you can check him out right here. He's definitely more clownish than what we're used to seeing with the Joker. His hair has got a little bit of green in it. It's a little bit hard to tell. But he's got that big red nose, big red smile, and some blue paint. If you've seen Batman Dark Prince Charming, it's very similar to that Joker. Maybe Todd Phillips saw that. It just came out this past year. So maybe he was inspired by that Joker. So it looks pretty. It's not like what most people expect from the Joker. Even when I first saw it, it's more of a rodeo clown type. But it grows on you as you see it. But what's really interesting is that we got this, there's a bunch of stuff that leaked. We got a set video where there's a subway train and it looks like Joker's terrorizing it. We got, within that, there's a subway map with like a ton of like Easter eggs, with each station being like usually a creator who's done work on the Joker or Batman. But one of the things that really stood out to me was there was this newspaper headline from the Gotham Post. There isn't a date on it. One can assume it's from the 80s. Given where we think the Joker timeline is. And it reads, "Masked Bandits Steal Collection Box. Mayhem in the streets as the suspects fled the scene." And there's actually a full article on the front page, and it goes on to describe that there's 3 members of this Masked Bandits gang. And if you know anything about the Red Hood gang and the Killing Joke story that Alan Moore and Dave Bolin wrote, then you know that there's 3 members of the Red Hood gang. So that headline definitely leads me to think that the Red Hood gang might be showing up in the Joker film. It's not unheard of to see the Red Hood gang show up in other medium outside of comics. They recently were on Gotham, I think back in season 2. It might have been season 1. I'm pretty sure it was season 2. There was definitely a lot more people than 3 in the Red Hood gang in that. So it's possible that we might see even more than 3. But right now it looks like it's 3, so he could be growing his numbers as part of the Red Hood. We haven't seen anything with the Red Hood, but we have seen him already like wearing, he's wearing the clown mask over his own makeup. So it's not unheard of, it wouldn't be unheard of to see him actually putting on a red hood and channeling the Killing Joke, which is probably the most iconic Joker story that's ever been told. So I'm actually pretty excited about that, especially if it follows a lot of the same beats as Killing Joke. We just recently had an animated film about it. People are a little bit upset about the Batgirl scenario that they added in the beginning. But overall, The Killing Joke is definitely one of DC's most iconic stories, and it will be an excellent source to use for Joaquin Phoenix's Joker film. Although I don't think Batman will be in it, but as far as like the origin part with The Killing Joke, it could be really good. All right, so let's move on to Gen Con banning Jeremy Hambly and the quartering. So if you didn't hear about this already, Gen Con, which is a massive gaming convention that takes place in Indianapolis every year, decided to indefinitely suspend, which is code for you're banned from the convention for life. This came after Hambly was actually attacked at a bar outside of Gen Con. He was in town to attend the convention, and he's attacked by Elm City Games owner Matt Loader. He kind of blindsided him and attacked him from behind. And Hambly has like filed a police report and is following up on police action. But the latest news in this case is that Gen Con banned him. And he actually got an email from Gen Con, and it reads, after further notice, Gen Con has determined that the 2 principal account holders involved in an off-site incident will be suspended from attendance at future conventions for an indefinite length of time. The account holder has violated the convention's ethics, conduct, and harassment policy for targeted online bullying of attendees and will be suspended until further notice. And then it goes on to say that Gen Con is committed to a safe, harassment-free environment. And it says additional terms of service violations may result in more severe actions, including a permanent ban from Gen Con and any affiliated events. Well, they kind of already permanently banned him by saying that he was suspended indefinitely. Those are pretty much the same thing, so I don't know why they added that last line. But this is just ridiculous to me that they banned someone who was physically attacked. They're banning the victim of an actual like attack. So this doesn't look good for Gen Con. I wouldn't be surprised if a number of people won't be attending their convention in the future, especially if they have opinions that just might be more controversial, I guess. I don't even want to call his opinions controversial. I mean, he just kind of gives his own opinion, and some people don't like it, just like other people give opinions they don't like it. So, but apparently this one guy didn't like his opinion so much, he went up and attacked him. So if you decide to state an opinion online, it's possible that you could get attacked outside of Gen Con and get banned for it, especially if you have a YouTube channel and you talk about it. So this is just insanity. And it kind of like follows in the line of what we're seeing from a lot of conventions in recent years. There was the Rose City Comic-Con, I don't know if you noticed, but you heard this, but they actually banned people from wearing Hydra costumes because they're Nazis. Yeah, that's right. Comic-Con banned guests from wearing Marvel Comics characters' costumes. Like you can't even wear like Red Skull costumes there anymore. It's just absurd. And then just last year, The Punisher, Netflix's The Punisher, like pulled out of New York Comic-Con because they thought their panel would offend people, and that was right after the Las Vegas shooting, and I criticized them for that decision back when that happened. But so those are our 4 stories for today. You can find more details about those in the description below. I'll put links there. Thank you for listening once again. This is John Trent, and you've been listening to me, Bounding into Comics. You can find more of our stories on boundingintocomics.com. Make sure you subscribe to our email list. Make sure you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. We've also just started a Discord channel, so make sure you join up with our Discord channel. We have some lots of cool things happening there. And I'm easily accessible. You can talk to me on Discord, so if you want to get in touch with me, that's a good place to get in touch with me. Follow us on Twitter @BoundingComics. Follow us on Facebook. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back next week.